This is accounting spreadsheets, and we're going to be going through assignment 4. We'll go through the classroom assignment 4, and then we will also go through assignment 4's graded. I'll give you some heads up on that since it's a payroll area, and there's a couple really complicated formulas in there. The first thing, though, that we'll do in the class, and I'll go through with you, is pivot tables. Now, pivot tables to me is something that is very useful to people as far as doing pivot tables. We've had a couple people on our advisory committee state to us that they wanted to make sure that we did go through pivot tables, that they are utilizing them in their particular companies. One of the things it's used for is when you have a massive amount of data and you're trying to pull certain things out of it. You're kind of accumulating certain things. Now, you can do that through sorts, and I have a couple of those things out there on the spreadsheet tips area, but pivot table just does it very quickly. I actually did use this in the corporate world. I did this when we had our sales data, and we wanted to pull out certain sales information for a certain division. Now, you could go to programmers and say, program this and do up a report like that. Well, what we did was just dumped all the data into one big Excel spreadsheet, and I just quickly did up a pivot table. It took seconds. So it wasn't getting anyone to program anything or anything like that, because for one, sometimes they get pretty busy in the programming area, and they tell you it'll take umpteen years to get it done. This was just seconds. And you'll see this, going through this exercise, it doesn't take long. This is going to be a very small pivot table, but you can look at it as an example. You could have thousands of lines of information and accumulate those thousands of lines of information very quickly. So we'll get into it. The first thing I like to do is when I'm doing up a pivot table is I like to do it on a separate worksheet. So I'll just leave the data alone. I'll say, okay, that's sitting there in its own little worksheet. I'm going to take this and I'm going to go to sheet 2, and then I'm going to do up my pivot table. Now, to do up a pivot table, it's insert. You have up above, file, home, insert. This is in Excel 2010, by the way. If you are in a different version, you might have to look for it, but I don't think it's too substantially different. I think it might be somewhere close to the insert also. But the insert tab, you can see pivot table right there. So insert pivot table. Now the pivot table basically is going to be asking you, what information do you want to accumulate? What information do you want it to look at to start doing subtotals of different pieces? And so we're going to go to sheet 1, and then I just highlight the area I want the pivot table to look for. And the pivot table has titles up above there, so the pivot table automatically is going to look at those titles and say, okay, here's what we can possibly sort by, is the titles up above. If you have information out there, make sure you put titles up above the first line, so the pivot table knows what to look at. Now, it'll give you an example. Once we hit OK, second thing here, it says, do you want to do this in a new worksheet or existing worksheet? Well, I already went to sheet 2, so I want it in the existing worksheet. And I click OK. And then here's what pops up. And it basically says, okay, here's all the information we have. We have the employee numbers, we have names, we have departments, we have gender, we have salaries, we have bonus. Okay, all the top lines from the database I had. If I just wanted to look at salaries, I would click at that. Now, depending on how you click the information is how the pivot table is going to sort. Which means if I want department and I want genders in department, I'd first click department first. But I'm going to click gender first. We're going to say, okay, how much pay is being paid by all males? How much pay is going to be paid by all females. So I click gender. I'm going to have female, male. Okay, and then I can click salary and bonus. Look at how quick this accumulates information. Isn't it slick? You know, seconds, bang. So in this particular data, right now I know that the salaries, the total female salaries are 238,000, total male salaries are 321,000, the grand total salaries are 559,000. Is that nice information to have? Yeah. See, it's really cool. You get this database and you do up a pivot table, and I can tell bonuses. The female got more bonuses than the male. Hey, what's going on here? They must be working hard. Okay, female have a total of 13,700. Male have a total of 10,600. Grand total bonus is 24,300. Now, I can click on this, and this is where it depends on what order you do it. And I'll show you in the next pivot table. First, I'll go department, and then I'll go gender. But here, first I click gender, and now I'm going to click department within that gender. And it gives me every department for the females. Still the grand total, 238,000, bonus 13,700. That didn't change. But now it lists it department by department. I click gender first, so that's the first sort. Department, I click second, so that's the second sort. Now I'm going to leave this pivot table alone, and then I'm going to go and, now if I wanted to have names, if I click names right now, it would give me every name in accounting, and it'd give me every name in finance and every name in payroll. I'm just not going to clutter up the spreadsheet right now with that, but you can do that. Now, we're going to go to another brand new spreadsheet, and in the classroom spreadsheet, I'm expecting you to do this both ways. First, we're going to do it up by gender, then we'll do it up by department. Okay, so you guys will show me that you actually know how to do this by each particular method. Again, we're in a brand new spreadsheet. I go insert, pivot table, it says what information do you want? And go to sheet 1, highlight the information. So it knows what information I'm looking for. I want to do it in the existing worksheet, so I'll click OK. That's simple. Pretty much identify what information you want, and then do you want it in that existing worksheet or do you want a brand new worksheet? So, you know, even if I didn't go to a brand new worksheet, I could say I want it in a brand new worksheet and it'd pop up a new worksheet for me. Now, if you notice the first pivot table we went through, we clicked gender first. So we had it all accumulated by female. Now I'm going to click department first. So you notice all the departments click up here, and I'm going to also go salary and bonus. And then I'm going to click gender. So within the accounting, notice how all 4 items are clicked just the same as they were there, but it was the order I clicked the buttons that did the sorting. So if I click department first, it sorts by department first. If I click gender first, it'll sort by gender first and then department, which is very important as far as how do you want to accumulate the information. You can accumulate it many different ways. I think this is really a really cool tool. It's pretty much you go to an IT person and say, just download the information into an Excel file and then I can do whatever I want with it. I can accumulate the information any way I want. And they'll go, oh, how can you do that? You need us programmers to do that. You go, no, I don't. Just download it. Give me an Excel spreadsheet and I can do whatever I want. And you pop up these pivot tables and you can accumulate it. Now, if we look at accounting, in accounting, the females 108,000, males 92,000. The bonus is 9,200 for the female, 4,400 for the male. Each particular department. In finance, there are only females. In marketing, there's only males. So, you know, it lets you know where are the people. So it's a nice way to do it, and you can actually do it both ways, which I think is kind of slick. You know, and if you want, you did it one way and you want to switch it, you can stop and unclick all these buttons and then start sorting it over the way you want. So it does give you some good information. Okay, now this is pivot tables. Make sure you do up the pivot tables. Make sure you're doing it both ways. So I'm going to look at two spreadsheets. I'm going to look at sheet 2 and I'm going to look at sheet 3 and make sure you're accumulating it by female and then department, and then making sure you're sorting it by department and then gender. Okay? So you demonstrate to me you actually do know how to do it both ways. And you do know how to create a pivot table. Like I said, pivot tables, people want to know you understand what this is. So if you go into a company and they say, do you know how to work with pivot tables? You say, yes, I do. You know, you're going to say, oh, I didn't work with it that much, but we went through this in school. I remember how to do it. If I have to, I can pull up Dan's tape again and it'll go through it and show me how to do it. We'll get you through it. So, okay, now I'm going to close this, and then we're going to get into the payroll spreadsheet, which is the graded assignment for 4.